This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend Taylor from Life Goal Investments. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, we have an important day coming up on Wednesday, and actually, I'll sprinkle in Friday as well. Wednesday, of course, is our Fed decision. I think you and I can agree that 75 is coming. I think all the fireworks, all the to the moon or to the crater or whatever, the dumpster, is going to be the prepared remarks, and then more importantly, probably the Q&A.
Yeah. No doubt about it. The prepared remarks usually go fairly well. I mean, at least they don't gyrate the market too much. And then Q&A, depending on what they get asked, it can do whatever. When Steve Leeson, I can't remember, Steve Leeson from CNBC a couple months back asked them specifically, at what point are they going to stop? And I'm butchering this. I can't remember exactly what they said, but the market cratered afterwards. Yeah, so it was that particular question.
Yeah, I think the biggest debate, I think this is the debate. It's going to be so wild. It's how high and how fast. And I unfortunately think there are two different answers. If they go fast, we get to a terminal rate of 5%, and we get there by February. Mm-hmm. That means another 75 and 50 after Wednesday. But right. We're at 5%, we're done. That's if they want to go fast. That probably breaks shit.
Yep.
I now believe, unfortunately, that the Fed will give us 75 and then totally wuss out and give us baby quarters for the next 9 months or whatever. And it's going to take terminal rate to 5.5. So we're either going to go fast and break shit, or we're going to go slow and have these death by paper cuts until the summer of next year. Those are the two choices, I think. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think that they have to prove that inflation's under control before they can stop. Inflation does seem to be under control in their opinion at this point, I believe, but they don't want to get it wrong like they got it wrong in the 70s. So they can't stop. But to your point, there's been some blood in the streets when it comes to the market. There's been some blood in the streets when it comes to some things. Now, that's not their mandate. Their mandate is price stability, inflation, and full employment. So what we're looking at from an unemployment standpoint, and the employment hasn't moved. So they still have their own right. If they wanted to go in and break shit, in your words, they have the right to do that because their mandate allows them to do so. Inflation is still high and unemployment is still extremely, extremely low. But I think that they take broader context into, their thought process. And one, we talked at length last week about the fact that the U.S. dollar is really, really strengthening, and they're getting pressure from other countries around the world. Whether they take that into consideration, I don't know how much. But the other point of it is like, you're starting to see GDP contract. We just saw GDP get printed for Q3 last week, and it came in positive, but it came in positive for the reason that the excuse we gave in Q1 of import-export imbalance reversed. Yeah. And so that's the only reason why it came in positive. So if you call that a wash, then we've got 2 negative quarters of GDP in a row, right? Say one of the two is negative. And so at the end of the day, I think they do have those things go on in their peripheral. And I think that they're going to probably take it slow. I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Well, see, this is such a wild Rubik's Cube or puzzle to put together. So I believe the right answer is to go fast and get pain. But I realize to your point, they have a third unspoken thing is the reserve currency of the world. They can't destroy other things. So I get it, right? I don't have to think about that. So I don't.
Let me make just one thing clear on that, because we hear a lot of like the dollar's going to hell in a handbasket. To be clear, what Michael's saying there is destroy the world currency mean making it too strong.
Exactly.
Not that
weak,
the dollar's
strong.
not going to be not that the dollar's not going to be the reserve currency anymore. That's
no.
That's not on the table by any stretch of the imagination.
No, totally agree. Thank you for that. But here's the rub. I'm Jerome Powell. I've gotten through the prepared remarks. I start taking questions, and I simply hint that December could be a 50. Fucking market goes nuts. Just goes bananas. And now he gets done with his, he walks behind the little curtain, looks at his phone, sees the market's up 900 points. And he's like, damn it.
What did I do?
What's going on?
I've now backed myself into the corner that I didn't want to be backed into. I'm coming off as dovish, or it goes the other way, and I'm coming off as bullet, or hawkish rather. Yeah, he is walking a tightrope. So you think about this, what's going to happen though with the November elections coming up is that is going to put heightened pressure, in my opinion, on Jay Powell, because you look at it this way, what's really likely to play out, and this is not political, I like this, I like that, whatever it is. Democrats are POTUS is a Democrat, and generally whoever the president is, their party gets absolutely annihilated in the midterms. So
Right.
likely what happens is the House looks really likely to go Republican, and the Senate looks pretty darn likely to go Republican as well. So what happens is now we're going to have a stalemate where nothing's going to happen. So what that's going to put is all of the pressure on the Fed, because we're not getting stimulus. We're not getting tax cuts. Nothing's going to happen. That's what generally happens when we have this divided Congress and presidential stance. And so all of a sudden, he's got a big old bullseye like, hey, Jerome, figure this out. It's on you, buddy.
Yeah. And again, let's play this out. Because again, I think I think you're right. I think at least one of these has to go Republican, just so we can stop the nonsense. Right. Just stop it. And I think that's what our founding fathers wanted, right? That's why there's 3 levels of government, all of that stuff. So I think the market goes up. Again, you and I talked about this last week. The 3 months following a midterm election is like 12-0 being up.
Yep.
I mean, and again, what does Powell want? Powell wants wealth destruction. And now we're going to have the market go up because the Fed's slowing down, and then the freaking midterms, and it's going to be just nothing. Jerome Powell's going to be looking at this going, oh my God.
I think some of that got pulled forward. So I think I think because it looks like it's pretty darn likely, like there have been more contentious debates in the past. I think the market's going, okay, we see it coming. We're going to price this in now.
Market's a forward indicator. I mean, that's the beauty of the market. And that's what we'll talk about in episode 3, how you can have current pain, but the market's going up because they're like, hey, we know how to fix that. So You're right. I think what's happening right now is the market's pricing in Fed pivot. It went from a cut, Kathy Wood, to a pause, to now simply a slowdown. I mean, you can change the definition all you want. I think we go 75 to 50, and I think the market goes bananas.
I hate to say it. If you just put blinders on at the beginning of the year and didn't look at any headline outside of literally what the Fed told you, they've told us exactly what they're going to do. They're going to look at core CPI and stare it down and follow what it does. And they have told us they're going to raise rates until they know inflation's under control. This between meeting dovish pivot that gets talked about every time, we both look at it and go, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's pretty.
And the market rallies.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think there are really only 2 questions. What is the terminal rate, and how soon do we get there? So I'm going to ask you. My terminal rate call has now gone up. 6 months ago, it was 4.5. I now put it at 5. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the underside of you, but at the that sounds weird. I've been
under my call. Yeah.
The underneath of the 2. Jeez, I just keep going there. Anyway, I have been beneath you when it comes to our estimate of rates. And so I'm going to say that I'm still at that like 475 ballpark. But I mean, the numbers are going to keep converging as we get closer to the end of this thing, just because the delta is thinner and thinner. And what was the second part of the question?
So I'm going to just go back to this because I think
I got flustered there.
Your mind went somewhere dirty, man. That's what that was. That was just guys being guys, I guess. So again, I think my current call is terminal of 5 because I hope he gets there fast. I want to reiterate, if they decide to go slow, my terminal call is 5.5 in the summer.
Goes up.
I hope we get to 5 February, March. That's my call. And I'm going to stick with that until proven otherwise. Then the other question I have is how fast. Right now, I hope their last Fed rate raise is February. When do you think their last when does the pause begin? I
agree with you there. I have been earlier than that too. So again, wrong on my opinion there. But I think February you can get there. So I think you can go 75, 50, 50. And I think that gets us right to 4.7. I think that February is the last time that they will have to raise rates. And then again, I think 6 months later, and you might not, take me for what I'm worth on this one. I think 6 months later they reverse. because I think at that
So
point,
by a
the
reverse,
economy
you
is
mean you
gonna-
have a quarter cut or something?
Yep. They just want to
Yeah.
show that they're going to give something back to the market, because at that point we're going to fully be in a recession, or they're going to try to cause us to come out of it by a rate cut.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see. So again, both of us agree that we are hoping that the last Fed rate increase is February, which I think is like the 13th or 14th or something, 12th. Our terminal rates are close, right? You're 4.75, I'm 5. That's close
Yep.
enough. You see a cut next year? I don't. I think they're going to play out 2023 and give us our first cut as whatever their first meeting is of 2024.
Yep.
Is what I see. So
Yep. I wouldn't necessarily be shocked. I'm just looking at history repeating itself and saying that usually when they raise, they cut pretty darn soon thereafter, because they force us into recession.
So I guess to round this out, if you see a cut, you have to see inflation coming down significantly.
Yeah, I think it does come down. And I think that the trajectory is going to be moving in the right direction pretty darn quickly.
The slope or the whatever they
Yep.
call that.
I think once it starts to tip over and become clear, and I think the economy contracts at the same time, it drives inflation down pretty darn quickly.
You have any agree that we see a higher inflation rate this winter? Like maybe 9.1's not the peak?
No, I don't think that's likely. But I mean, to your point though, like there are some inflationary pressures that we haven't seen. I mean, you're starting to see gas pop again. Gas is up
Wheat's up
20%
again.
or something like that. Yeah. It's funny. I don't want to get off on a tangent here. I saw that European nat gas prices are now at pre-Russian invasion of Ukraine levels, which was really impressive to me to say, like, that was huge inflationary concern for the Eurozone, which they did just have a big print on their inflationary number.
10.7.
Yeah.
Worst on record.
I thought it was going to get worse because I thought nat gas would continue to move up. Thankfully, that's moderated some because their houses are heated with nat gas. So that would become very, very, very tough for them in the winter. But it just goes to show, I guess, when we talk about this aloud, though, is like that point is this is a global problem. It's not a U.S. phenomenon. So, I mean, when someone just points to the president, and again, this isn't a political thing, and says it's his fault. It's like, okay, well, group the Fed in that, group, global
Congress
pandemic in that. Yeah, Congress. Yeah, they all can take fault. Don't get me wrong, but don't put it at one person.
There's plenty of fault to go around. Just throw them all in there.
Exactly. Yeah. And when Republicans are in office, I'm going to be saying the same damn thing for the record.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Taylor, where can people find you?
Yeah, follow us at Life Goal Investments on Instagram, at Life Goal Investments. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.